Hi, welcome to Victoria Knits. I'm Victoria, and I'm going to start this podcast off a little earlier than usual because my grandson has been visiting. He was staying with us for about 6 days, my eldest grandson, Russell, and then his parents joined us after 6 days, and they brought this baby blanket with them that I knit for him. I knit this for him in 2015. It's called the Mosaic baby blanket. And I just wanted to show this because Wendy at Baba Yaya was talking about a mosaic pattern that she was knitting, and I just want to encourage everyone to try it if you haven't. It's a lot of fun to knit. It's a lot easier than it looks. It really is. As I said, I knit this one. It's been 2.5 years since I knit this. It has started to fray a little bit. I knit this in just inexpensive Karen synthetic yarn because I didn't want it to have to be hand washed. I wanted his mother to be able to just throw it in the washing machine in the dryer. I'm also really happy to see it being used. That's always a big plus, isn't it? When you knit something and the recipients actually enjoy it and they use it, it's always a good feeling. I put this picot edge around the blanket. I probably did that a little too tightly. It wants to curl quite a bit, but it's a cute blanket. My grandson likes it, and like I say, if you haven't tried Mosaic knitting, look up Mosaic. Just look up the word Mosaic, search it in patterns on Ravelry, and you'll see quite a few patterns come up. And it's a lot of fun. It's a very satisfying knit. I highly recommend trying them. So this is the part of the backyard from where I podcast from on my last episode. As you can see, the daffodils that Kim planted last fall are not in bloom yet, but they are coming up. So maybe by next month, I'm hoping. Fingers crossed. Hi. Well, as they say, I put on my big girl panties today, and I'm outside podcasting. I really wanted this podcast to have beautiful blue sky, and I wanted to show you the Mission Mountains covered in snow with blue sky behind them. That is not happening. It is overcast, and we are due more snow tomorrow. You can see our house behind us, and you can see how much, there's a lot of snow there. Some of it is piled up due to Kim using a snowblower, in the driveway and in the front and stuff. But you might as well face facts. Here in northwest Montana, spring comes rather slowly. So here I am. I'm outside. It's about just over 40 degrees. There's a slight wind. It's not horrible. It's a little chilly. I've got on a nice bright sweater. That's going to cheer me up, right? And look, we have some sunshine peeking through. That's a little miracle right there. So in my last podcast, I mixed up a couple yarns, and I wanted to make sure I got them straight this time. On the left is Spring Prairie by Polka Dot Sheep, and on the right is Apple Blossom by Bigfoot Fibers. And that is for my chrysalis wrap that I'm doing with the Classic Murder Mystery Knit Along with GK Green. And I also, in my last podcast, told you how I thought 2 weeks between clues was just perfect for me, that I could keep up with that. You know what? You can't keep up with that when you have company for 2 of those weeks. We gave my daughter and her husband a break from my grandson Russell. We kept him for 6 days, and then his parents came for another 6 days. So I had to knit on rather really simple projects that I could knit on while Russell was either taking a nap or his dad was watching him. His dad watched him a lot when he was here. But when his parents weren't here, Kim and I entertained him quite a bit. So there wasn't a lot of knitting going on unless he was in bed. And if he was in bed, I was usually in bed. So that's a long roundabout way of saying that I have not kept up with this knit along. This is what I have done. This is what I have so far. I did one more section since you've seen it. There are some pretty spring colors, right? This is going to be nice. This is going to help me think about spring. I think I'm going to like this wrap. I'm happy I'm working on it. I am keeping it in this spring-like bag I won from the Never Cast Off podcast. Hi, Deb and Sheila. Sheila made this bag. She has an Etsy shop called Thank God for Bags, and she made. I won this bag, and I won another one, and I think this fits. This bag is so appropriate for this wrap. I think it's perfect. The other bag of hers I won, the giveaway was all about what you're happy about, and this one just says happy everywhere. I think it's really, really cute. I like them both a lot. Another thing I finished since my last podcast is this sockhead cowl. This yarn is Spotted Dog Blue Studio Yacarino. There's a lot of stockinette stitch. It's kind of like knitting a baby sweater, I think, about the same size. But I got a little bit tired of the stockinette stitch. But it is finished, and I'm going to put it on, and I like it. And I have also made quite a bit of progress on my flax light sweater, which I am loving. This green is High Functioning by Hannah Made It. She has an Etsy shop, and I will all the links to everything is going to be below this podcast on YouTube, but also in my Ravelry group, Victoria Knits. And the last color here is by Up in Yarns Designs. Bursting in Purple is the colorway. Hey, that sun is perfect. And I have started on the sleeves, and yes, I am doing them on DPNs, and I know a lot of people would say, oh, blah, blah, you need to do those on Magic Loop. I've never done Magic Loop. I don't mind DPNs. That's how I do my socks. I'm good with it. But I am loving this sweater. And I have entered it into a Year of the Sweater Cowl that Barbara at the Flame and Fiber podcast is hosting. So if you're working on a sweater, go check out her knit along. She's having a year-long Year of the Sweater knit along, and I think that's great. And I started a pair of socks. This is the pattern is Shaken Not Stirred by Wendy Geckner of the Baba Yaya podcast. Hi, Wendy. She says these look like little martini glasses on the pattern. I don't know if you can tell that or not. I'm calling these my pink martini socks. The yarn is Bigfoot Fibers Stars and Stripes. They had sent a blue and white mini to do the toes, heels, and cuffs, but I decided to use this purple because I liked it better. And I like the pattern. It looks like a little bit of a basket weave to me, and I think I'm really going to like it. It's really pretty, coming along nicely. And another pair of socks I just finished are these By the Seine River socks. This is a free pattern on Ravelry. They're very pretty. They have this little fan pattern, two of them across the front of the foot, and then in the back there's this little knit, and then knit through the back loop and purl. It's a really easy pattern. Don't let it fool you. Very simple to do. I really enjoyed it. The yarn is from Cassie at Big Sky Yarn Company. And it's called Glacier, and I loved it. She named this yarn after Glacier National Park, so of course I had to have some. As soon as I saw her post this, I was like, give me some of that. these will be for my daughter. And if you've been watching my podcast, you know that my daughter is due to have her second baby boy in early June or July. So he gets a matching pair of socks with mommy. I did that with Russell, her first one, and I will insert a picture of she and Russell wearing their socks. And I thought I would keep up with that tradition. They turned out really pretty. I love this yarn. Cassie also sent me a free skein of yarn. This is called Pink Lemonade. Good grief, isn't that beautiful? I love this yarn. I'm not sure what I'm going to make with this. I don't know. I've been looking at it. It might go into another Flaxlight sweater for myself. This is, the base is what she calls Star Sock. It's 75% superwash, 25% nylon. I love it. Thanks, Cassie. It's beautiful. You can go check out her shop on Etsy. She has lots of kits for like fade kits right now in there. But great yarn. Very pretty. And if you have been following me on Instagram, you may have seen some of my recent posts about how we've recently acquired 3 new chicks and three ducklings, and then that's because we are down to 3 chickens. We used to have 6. We have got them 3 at a time in groups of 3s, and the oldest one is right behind me. That's Ginger, and she is either 9 or 10 years old this year. I can't remember. I'm surprised she's still around. She's still laying eggs occasionally, but we don't expect her to last too much longer. The other 2 9-year-olds we have both passed, and so we have the other 2 we have are around 6 or 7 years old. I can't remember, but we knew we were due to have some more egg layers. So we got the 3 new chicks, and we got them while Russell was here with us. We picked them out, and he got to help bring them home. He was pretty excited about it. So I decided to try this little pattern by Susan B. Anderson. It's called D for Duckling. I think it's really cute. I knit this up in an afternoon. I did not use fingering weight yarn as she recommends in her pattern. I just used some leftover. I had some Karen yarn that's easily washable. You can just throw it in the washer and dryer. It's pretty cute. I'll probably make Russell a couple more. To tell you the truth, he's not too excited about stuffy toys. You know, he's more into the cars and racing cars and stuff like that. But at some point he might be, and if he's not, Grammy will keep him on her shelf. It's really cute. So yesterday I went into Kalispell hoping for some really beautiful weather. I didn't get it, but here's what I did while I was in town. Hi. I am at the Buffalo Hill Golf Course in the town of Kalispell, where we do most of our shopping. There is some ground maintenance going on, but I have my microphone on, so I hope you can hear me okay. I was always curious about why they called this the Buffalo Hill Golf Course, and I had a suspicion, and it proved to be true. Back in episode 14, I talk about Charles Conrad and his family. He was one of the founders of the town of Kalispell. Well, he saw, back then in the 1900s, he saw all the buffalo hides being shipped back east, and he became quite concerned about the bison disappearing. Buffalo is a common word for bison, but the correct word is bison. Out west we call them buffalo all the time. But anyway, so he became quite concerned about the bison disappearing. So in 1900 he purchased 100 bison. Now these were pretty much the last remaining wild bison on the continent, which, if you realize that at one time they estimated that there were between 30 and 60 million bison on the continent, having them reduced down to just 100 bison is mind-boggling. But he saw this happening. He became quite concerned, so he bought 50 of the last 100 bison. and he moved them here to Buffalo Hill, what became known as Buffalo Hill back then. Well, Charles Conrad died in 1902, but his wife kept the herd. She kept them here. And in 1908, she offered 37 of the bison to start the National Bison Range near Missoula, Montana. Some of the Conrad's bison also supplied the Canadian herd in Banff. It was common knowledge back then that the Conrads loved their bison. And President Theodore Roosevelt established the National Bison Range in 1908 when he signed legislation to purchase land for the conservation of bison. It was the first time Congress appropriated tax dollars to buy land specifically to conserve wildlife. Today, there are about 350 to 500 bison on that refuge. The range supports elk, mule deer, white-tailed deer, pronghorn and bighorn sheep, as well as coyotes, mountain lions, bears, bobcat, and over 200 species of birds. It has 18,000 acres, and you can purchase a ticket and then drive through that range. I have not done that yet, but I certainly intend to. I think it would be very interesting. And Yellowstone National Park has around 4,800 bison right now, and they have the longest established herd on the continent. So Buffalo Hill is a very beautiful golf course. For those of you who do golf, it was founded in 1918 and designed by Robert Muir Graves, who was a golf course architect. I didn't know such a thing existed. You could be a golf course architect. And the Buffalo Hill course is considered to be one of his masterpieces. He also developed courses in California, Oregon, Idaho, Nevada, Utah, Washington, and Malaysia. Just some little facts about this golf course. They don't mean a lot to me. I did discuss them with my son-in-law because he's an avid golfer. It has a par 72 here. The longest hole is at hole number 2 at 598 yards. The course rating is 71.9. The slope rating is 121. And the course record is 64 by Scott Desmarais from Calgary, Canada. That's pretty cool. Also, the log clubhouse was built in the 1930s, and it is beautiful. There were employees on the premises, and I overheard that they were getting ready to open the golf course the next day. They were really nice to me, told me to have a look around. I definitely did. I checked out the inside of the clubhouse. There were this buffalo mounted on the wall, and original picture back in the day when there were bison there, and the clubhouse when it first opened. So our local Joann store is in the town of Evergreen, which is a suburb of Kalispell. I needed to go there and purchase some buttons for the Gramps cardigan I had just finished for my new grandson. Plenty of buttons to choose from. Does anybody else do this? I have to take the garment with me. So yes, I finished the Gramps sweater I was working on for my soon-to-be-here newest grandson. And this is it with its little buttons attached. I like it. I think the buttons really make a statement. Why not, right? It has the little patches on the sleeves. And I made him a Luke. The pattern's called Luke. It's a free pattern on Ravelry, I do believe. And I made this to match his little sweater. The newest grandson will have to get used to wearing Grammy's handmade knits, right? And speaking of which, Kim and I were not able to go visit my son and his family for various reasons in Seattle last month, but I did mail them their little hats. It's the Hugs and Kisses Girls Beanie by Wendy Geckner, the pattern. And my daughter-in-law sent me pictures of Hayden and Perry in their little hats. They fit. I think they were very impressed with them, and they look really cute. So I've been watching my usual podcasts lately, but one I have been watching recently is called Hey, I'm Catherine. She's in Canada. I was really impressed. She's a fairly new knitter, and she's been doing, she did a double knit cowl, which turned out really nicely, and I was pretty impressed that she would try something. You know, I haven't done double knitting yet. I have a couple things in my queue. I intend to do some because it looks really attractive to me, but you might check her out. Also, I've been watching Margaret and Rosalie, that are a couple sisters from the Whiny Knitters podcast, and I was watching them the other day, and Margaret was knitting socks, and she had cut her main yarn when she went to put in her alternating heel color. And Rosalie was like, why did you cut that yarn? And I'm thinking, because that's what you do. And then Rosalie explained, no, you just leave it. It just hangs there waiting for you to come back after you've finished the heel, and then you just pick up with that yarn and move on. And I'm like, what? How did I not know that? I don't know how I didn't know that. That's crazy. But you know, once in a while you get those crazy tips like that, and you're just like, how did I not have that figured out? I wish I had a million tips to give you guys. But in my Ravelry group, Victoria Knits Podcast, I did start an Ask Me Anything thread, and Rena, hi Rena, jumped on it, and she had a couple things to ask, which I had to look up. She asked about high twist yarn. She wanted to know what that meant. And I found out that it basically means your yarn is more durable, because during the spinning process, the yarn is twisted tighter to add more strength and durability. Lower twist yarn will be softer, but also a little weaker. She also wanted to know about alternating skeins when you're working with indie dyed yarn, because sometimes the colorway is just a little bit off. You can't get it exactly the same. And I read that if you're knitting flat, you need to alternate every other row, so you start from the same side. You knit across, purl back, and then alternate your skeins. So it looks like it needs to happen fairly often, that you alternate the skeins. And I will insert links for those also, where I got those little tips below. But thanks for the question, Ren. I appreciate it. I learned something too. So yeah, it's a little nippy out. It's a little bit of a breeze going, so it's a little chilly. But the sun's trying to peek through. That would be really nice. I have a question for you. What is it like where you are? Is spring in full bloom? Are you seeing daffodils and tulips? Are the lilacs close to blooming? If so, please take a big whiff of those beautiful flowers and tell me about it in the comments below. I would love to hear it. We are a ways off from what I would call a normal spring, but I guess this is normal spring for where we are. And I just better suck it up and and go with it, huh? Anyway, you can find me on Ravelry as Victoria Jean, and on Instagram you can find me as Victoria Jean W. If you like this podcast, go ahead and subscribe. If you haven't, hello to the new subscribers. There's been a few lately. I really appreciate you. Give me a thumbs up if you like. That's always appreciated too. And gosh, thanks so much for watching. As usual, bye from Montana. Since our flock is down to just 3 chickens, Kim and I decided to add to that this year. These 3 do not have names yet.
Look at Mom, 1. Yeah. Dada 1. Dada 1.
Yeah, Dada has one too, huh?
Dada 1.
And 3 little ducks, who I have named. The black one is Huck, the brown and yellow one is Blue, and the brown one is Marion.
It's a duck. No pet.
No pet? Hustle pet?
Hustle pet.
Be nice. Good job.
Duck.
In my previous episode, I mentioned that the deer around here have been hanging out with the horses where they get some hay, and here they are. And we've finally seen a couple deer hanging around. This mama and probably her 1-year-old baby have been hanging around a bit. And finally, I've been watching this cam at Glacier National Park. They have pointed at this tree where a bear has been hibernating. It's been a lot of fun to watch. You can watch the bear move in and out of its little hibernation hole in the tree. It's a lot of fun to watch. I will put a link below the podcast to this camera. It's not a video cam, so you can't watch the bear move live, but it refreshes itself in stills, and it's been very entertaining to me. Sometimes you just see a couple of paws sticking out. Sometimes you see 3 paws sticking out. But most of the time you just see the cute little head. They don't know if it's a male or female yet.